Here we are at Prepa1 and we're having the practice for the speaking part of the FCE exam, and the students are going to talk for a minute about one of the topics they have selected. Okay, ready?
Well, I'm going to talk about education. I think this is one of the most important areas of our life, and it has had many changes over the years. For instance, technology. Now we use ebooks, digital boards, or something like that. But we need to improve the way that we learn things. And in the past, we never used these kind of things. And the furniture that is in the school is different too. For example, we have new chairs that are more comfortable. And in conclusion, sitting now is a little more easy.
I'm going to talk about the changes over the time on the topic of free time. Before, like when our parents were just like us, well, our age, they used to play with their friends. They went out to the streets and parks, and they did, like, I don't know, maybe games that made you active and maybe healthier. And now, I think it's better now because in your free time, you can do a lot more things. You can listen to music, for example. You have a lot of artists now. You could maybe read ebooks. Now you have a lot of those books that you could read whatever you want to read. And there are also video games that are really entertaining for me. Some people may think that before was better, but I think that better is now.
Try to look at the camera, please.
I'm going to talk about the changes in the free time. And I think the people have changed since the last 20 decades, and especially with the childhood, because they are more involved in all the technology. And nowadays, when they say, I'm playing with my friends or I'm talking with my friends, and they are doing it but online or something like that. And I think that the education it's very well, the education have been very different, because now you can read ebooks or you can study listening those audios. We also have
I'm going to talk about travel and transport and its changes to the time. Well, in the past, people used to travel walking or by horses. Nowadays, there are many ways of transport, such as airplanes, undergrounds, cars, motorcycles, etc. And it was difficult to think that the man could get to the moon, but he did. Nowadays, it's also difficult to think that the man could get to Mars or maybe other planets, but maybe he will do it in the future, and it will be common to see the man traveling, maybe high speed. Conclusion is.
I'm going to talk about the changes in the free time. Well, in the last century, children used to play table games like Uno, puzzles, and also go to the parks and play with their friends. But nowadays, the technology have made us dependent, and also on the free time, because now you are at Facebook or on Twitter or watching the TV series. But now you also can play those table games on your iPad or iPhone. And I think that technology has to... Hi, that's all.
Today I want to talk about the changes of the transportation. A few years ago, people had to walk kilometers and kilometers to find a bus, or then they used to travel by horse or by train, and only the richest person have the opportunity or the access to buy a car. But nowadays, it's more easy to buy a car, and you don't have to travel by train or something like that. And I think that in conclusion, transport have changed our lives in a positive side, but we must be aware about the pollution that car generates.
Well, I'm going to talk about free time. Well, in the last century, we know that our parents used to play in the childhood with table games. It's an example. In their free time, they used to play with marbles, Scrabble, puzzles, or things like that. Now in this century, we used to play with tablets, watching TV all the day, watch a movie, or only with our cell phone we can make calls or send a message, take photos, edit it, or download apps to play it. And the technology has a great impact compared with the last century.
I'm going to talk about the changes of the free time. Well, I think that life used to be more enjoyable when we didn't have any of these technologies, because we used to pass time together, we used to do more healthy things, and I think that now we're very dependent on the technology, and it's very sad because when we don't have it, we don't know what to do, or we don't know what to do, and it's very stressful. Well, the families used to be together, and now they're separated in tablets, iPods, things like that. And in conclusion, I think that technology is very good, but we don't need to depend of it.
Okay, thank you. Juliana?
Well, I'm going to talk about the technology in education. Well, I'm going to talk about the pros and the bad sides of the technology, and you will decide what's best. Well, in the good side, we see that technology has get the information to us in a quicker way, in an easier way. Because now, if you have internet, you can go, well, of course, the fun parts of internet, like the social networks or YouTube, but you can also go to educative pages, like about different subjects, like science or humanities or whatever. In that part, it's really good because it also makes us the good thing that we don't need like a teacher in order for us to learn. We can learn in some other ways.
Well, I'm going to talk about the free time, and well, firstly, about like more than 20 years ago, the kids used to go out to the streets and play with their friends. It also let them meet new people and make new friends. But now they only stay at home and play video games. Before, the people used to do exercise, and well, they were not fat like we now have that problem. But on the positive side, video games help to the concentration and memorizing for the kids in school. And well, it's also about the security. About 10 years ago, it was not as unsafe to go to the street as it now is. And well, in conclusion, kids have fun in a lot of different ways, about like as our parents used to have. That's it.
Well, I'm going to talk about communication. And communication have been a lot of changes. For example, before, the people used to write letters and send to their family. Now, we only need a mobile phone to get in touch with our family or friends. Also, the social network have been important part of this new era of the communication. Nowadays, the communication is easier and faster than the last 100 years.
Okay, let me move a little bit to this side. Let's continue with Mariana. Okay, Mariana.
First of all, the communication is really important in our lives. 30 years ago, the way that we communicate is really slow. Well, maybe the letters are so romantic, but we have to wait a long time for receive something. Second, we can stay in any place in the world. The technology is grow up every day, and we are not just communicating for a cell phone or a letter. Now exists social networks, for example, Facebook, Twitter. Now there is an excuse for we know what happened in other parts of the world. Finally, the distance doesn't matter. The people now it's always communicate.
Well, I'm going to talk about free time and how the kids spend their time. In the last years, the way that kids spend their free time has changed. In the last century, they used to go out with their friends, doing exercise, even inventing new games, and they used to have a healthier life. Maybe playing table games. And nowadays, they spend their time maybe playing video games or in the computer, playing with the apps, and that has made a big change because we have became a more lazy generation. In conclusion, in the way that other kids in the past used to spend their free time, now it could seem boring, but technology has...
Well, I'm going to talk about the education. In the past, like in the 60s, the education was like only the basic things you have to know, and it was like in rooms and not like classroom manual. And nowadays, there's a lot of technology. In some schools, they improve with a system called System 1 that is by learning with a computer, and the teacher is only like, if you have a doubt, you ask her or him, and that's all. You have to learn only by the computer, but you don't have to leave away the old way of learning. And in conclusion, well, the education has improved.
Well, I am going to talk about education. Education has drastically changed in the last 50 years. For example, the rules have changed. Before, a teacher used to be aggressive if the kid didn't answer well the question. But nowadays, if he insults or attacks a student, he can go to prison. Then I am going to talk the way of teaching. The way of teaching has changed. Before, we used to memorize the story, for example, and now we try to comprehend the story. Then the supports of the teacher have changed. Before, they just have the marker and the blackboard, and now we have the technology to make a better way to learn. For example, we can use it to record.
Okay, sorry. Now it's your turn.